What's good, YouTube? Sensational Sinceres here, and I'm back with another Tom Clancy's The Division Vendor Reset video. We're here for October 16th, 2020's Vendor Reset. So let's get right into this to see what we got good for this week. Okay, so for our first gear items, we're going to head over to Camp Hudson. Here, the weapons vendor has an Omega rifle suppressor with 17.50% headshot damage, 2% accuracy, and 5% optimal range. For our next gear items, we're still at Camp Hudson. Head over to the gear vendor, and here we got a prototype Firearms Mod with 212 firearms and 4% damage to elites. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the base operations. Here, the gear vendor has a tactical mask with the talent Tenacious on there. It has a gear score of 264. The armor is 893. Its roll for stamina 1,165. And attributes this has is enemy armor damage and burn resistance. And also here we got a prototype performance mod with 7% turret health. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations. Head over to the advanced weaponry vendor, and here we got an infantry MG5 with a gear score of 274. It has 19% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents this has is sustained, vicious, and competent. Also here we got a loud vent break with 18% crit hit damage, 5% optimal range, and 3% crit hit chance. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations. Head over to the special equipment vendor, and here we got a Liberator with a gear score of 272. It has 20% enemy armor damage, and the talents this has is destructive, competent, and responsive. Also here we got a Cassidy with a gear score of 276. It has 293% stagger, and the talents this has is self-preserved, unforgiving, and boomstick. Also here we got a Pecan. If you're a fan for this weapon, it has a gear score of 261. It has 19% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents this has is unforgiving, capable, and Pecan. Also here we got a military P416 with a gear score of 267. It has 20% enemy armor damage, and the talents this has is deadly, self-preserved, and competent. Also here we got a tactical vest with the talent Reckless on there. It has a gear score of 276. The armor is 1,773. Its roll for electronics 1,271. And the attributes this has is enemy armor damage, all resistance, and increased kill XP. Also here we got a prototype Firearms Mod with 263 firearms and 3% skill haste. Also here we got a prototype performance mod with 4% secret mine damage. Also here we got a heavy magazine spring with 5% reload speed, 3% crit hit chance, and 10.40% rate of fire. Also here we got a mega rifle suppressor with 18.50% headshot damage, 4.50% optimal range, and 4% crit hit damage. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations. Head over to the special blueprints vendor, and here we got a classic M44 Carbine blueprint with a gear score of 256. We got some stamina knee pad blueprint with a gear score of 256. We also got an MK4 M5A2 scope times 15 blueprint with a power level 34. We also got a small laser pointer blueprint with a power level 34. For our next gear items, you want to head over to the cavern. Here, the gear vendor has a Gunslinger Vest with a talent Vigorous on there. It has a gear score of 270. The armor is 1,780. Its roll for electronics 1,232. And the attributes this has is all resistance, health, and increased kill XP. Also here we got a prototype performance mod with 3.50% mobile cover damage resilience. For our next gear items, you want to head over to Camp Clinton. Here, the special equipment vendor has a Liberator with a gear score of 266. It has 19% enemy armor damage, and the talents this has is competent, fierce, and capable. Also here we got a Pecan. If you like to run this weapon, it has a gear score of 263. It has 19% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents this has is meticulous, competent, and Pecan. Also here we got a Historian with a gear score of 264. It has 163% headshot damage, and the talents this has is prepared, commanding, and Historian repeats. Also here we got a Cassidy with a gear score of 266. It has 315.50% stagger, and the talents this has is adept, commanding, and boomstick. Also here we got a custom P416 G3 with a gear score of 263. It has 20% enemy armor damage, and the talents this has is meticulous, prepared, and brutal. Also here we got a Spec Ops Mask with the talent Enduring on there. It has a gear score of 278. The armor is 984. Its roll for stamina 1,209. And the attributes this has is all resistance and blind death resistance. Also here we got a Spec Ops Armor with the talent Vigorous on there. It has a gear score of 275. The armor is 1,925. Its roll for firearms 1,197. And the attributes this has is all resistance, exotic damage resilience, and ammo capacity. Also here we got an operator pack with the talent Inventive on there. It has a gear score of 271. The armor is 1,198. Its roll for firearms 1,238. And the attributes this has is skill power and bleed resistance. Also here we got a prototype performance mod with 5% smart cover duration. For our next gear items, we're still at Camp Clinton. Head over to the special blueprints vendor, and here we got a first wave PF45 blueprint with a gear score of 256. We got an electronics vest blueprint with a gear score of 256. We got an EXP-S3 holographic sight blueprint with a power level 34. For our next gear items, you want to head over to Wolves Den. Here the weapons vendor has a model 700 with a gear score of 277. It has 165% headshot damage, and the talents it has is brutal, determined, and elevated. And also here we got a 5.52 hollow sight with 7.50% crit hit chance, 5% optimal range, and 5.50% headshot damage. For our next gear items, you want to head over to Autumn's Hope. Here the gear vendor has a tactical mask with the talent enduring on there. It has a gear score of 276. The armor is 998. Its roll for firearms 1213, and the attributes it has is crit hit chance and blind depth resistance. Also here we got a prototype performance mod with 2.50% smart cover damage resilience. For our next gear items, you want to head over to the ward. Here the gear vendor has a prototype stamina mod with 253 stamina and 3,143 health. For our next gear items, you want to head over to the firewall. Here the gear vendor has a Gunslinger Vest with the talent Rapid on there. It has a gear score of 274. The armor is 1,854. Its roll for stamina 1,252. And the attributes it has is skill haste, all resistance, and increased kill XP. For our next gear items, you want to head over to the crypt. Here the weapons vendor has an enhanced ACRE with a gear score of 275. It has 18% enemy armor damage, and the talents it has is ferocious, accurate, and prepared. For our next gear items, you want to head over to West 31st Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a custom M870 Mcs with a gear score of 274. It has 345% stagger. The talents it has is responsive, meticulous, and unforgiving. Also here we got a prototype Firearms Mod with 259 firearms and 1% crit hit chance. And also here we got an extended magazine with 120% magazine size, 4.50% reload speed, and 4.90% rate of fire. For our next gear items, you want to head over to West 39th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a loud vent break with 18% crit hit damage, 2.50% stability, and 4.50% optimal range. For our next gear items, you want to head over to West 46th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has an operator vest with the talent Reckless on there. It has a gear score of 277. The armor is 2001. Its roll for electronics 1254. And the attributes it has is enemy armor damage, skill haste, and ammo capacity. And also here we got a prototype performance mod with 6% first aid self-heal. For our next gear items, you want to head over to West 53rd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a tactical pack with the talent Relentless on there. It has a gear score of 274. The armor is 1252. Its roll for electronics 1226, and the attributes it has is stability and bleed resistance. For our next gear items, you want to head over to East 64th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone gear mod vendor has a prototype performance mod with 7% support station range. For our next gear items, you want to head over to the Park Ave checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone weapons vendor has a police M4 with a gear score of 269. It has 19% enemy armor damage, and the talents it has is predatory, ferocious, and fierce. Also here we got an SASG-12 with a gear score of 262. It has 313% stagger, and the talents it has is sustained, responsive, and deadly. Also here we got a classic M44 Carbine with a gear score of 263. It has 146% headshot damage, and the talents it has is brutal, vicious, and adept. And also here we got an M249B with a gear score of 279. It has 21% damage to targets out of cover. And the talents this has is fierce, unforgiving, and competent. For our next gear items, you're going to head over to East 53rd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a tactical Super 90 SBS with a gear score of 281. It has 349% stagger, and the talents this has is accurate, ferocious, and deadly. Also here we got a Spec Ops Armor with the talent Reckless on there. It has a gear score of 271. The armor is 1,819. Its roll for electronics 1,221. And the attributes this has is health, enemy armor damage, and increased kill XP. And also here we got a pro red dot sight with 17% crit hit damage, 2.50% crit hit chance, and 2.50% stability. For our next gear items, you want to head over to East 46th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a classic AK-47 with a gear score of 282. It has 22% enemy armor damage. And the talents it has is sustained, competent, and ferocious. For our next gear items, you want to head over to East 42nd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a Spec Ops Mask with the talent refreshed on there. It has a gear score of 273. The armor is 877. Its roll for stamina 1,227. And the attributes this has is crit hit chance and increased kill XP. For our next gear items, you want to head over to East 40th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a Model 700 with a gear score of 266. It has 148% headshot damage, And the talents this has is destructive, disciplined, and elevated. Also here we got a Spec Ops Mask with the talent rehabilitated on it. It has a gear score of 266. The armor is 893. Its roll for electronics 1179. And attributes this has is crit chance and damage to elites. Also here we got a prototype stamina mod with 265 stamina and 2871 skill power. And also here we got Omega rifle suppressor with 17.50% headshot damage, 2.50% stability, and 2% accuracy. For our next gear items, we're gonna head over to East 34th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a Spec Ops Armor with the talent Reckless on there. It has a gear score of 278. The armor is 1898. Its roll for electronics 1257. And attributes this has is skill haste, exotic damage resilience, and ammo capacity. And also here we got extended magazine with 115.50% magazine size, 4% creative damage, and 4.80% rate of fire. For our next gear items, you're gonna head over to the 5th Ave checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a Spec Ops Mask with the talent refreshed on there. It has a gear score of 275. The armor is 919. Its roll for electronics 1266. And attributes this has is crit chance and disorienting resistance. And also here we got a prototype Firearms Mod with 252 firearms and 3,104 health. For our next gear items, we're gonna head over to DZ2 safe room. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a tactical mask with the talent refreshed on there. It has a gear score of 269. The armor is 963. Its roll for electronics 1172. And attributes this has is health on kill and blind death resistance. Also here we got an operator vest with the talent Reckless on there. It has a gear score of 271. The armor is 1861. Its roll for electronics 1156. And attributes this has is health on kill, exotic damage resilience, and increased kill XP. Also here we got a Spec Ops pack with the talent Specialized on there. It has a gear score of 276. The armor is 1275. Its roll for electronics 1271. And attributes this has is crit damage and burn resistance. And also here we got some tactical gloves with the talent Savage on there. They have a gear score of 271. The armor is 903. Its roll for stamina 1220. And attributes this has is pistol damage, marksman rifle damage, and crit hit chance. For our next gear items, we're gonna head over to DZ3 safe room. Here the Dark Zone weapons vendor has a classic AK-47 with a gear score of 266. It has 18% enemy armor damage. The talents this has is competent, vicious, and talented. And also here we got a tactical M249 Para with a gear score of 280. It has 22% damage to targets out of cover. And the talents this has is destructive, adept, and unforgiving. For our next gear items, we're gonna head over to DZ8 safe room. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a Spec Ops Mask with a talent Enduring on there. It has a gear score of 263. The armor is 881. Its roll for stamina 1139. And attributes this has is skill power and damage to elites. Also here we got an operator pack with the talent Relentless on there. It has a gear score of 273. The armor is 1206. Its roll for firearms 1225. And attributes this has is crit damage and ammo capacity. And also we got some operator gloves with the talent Savage on there. They have a gear score of 263. The armor is 861. Its roll for firearms 1161. And attributes this has is enemy armor damage, crit damage, and marksman's rifle damage. For our next gear items, we're gonna head over to DZ9 safe room. Here the Dark Zone weapon mod vendor has an extended magazine with 115.50% magazine size, 4.50% reload speed, and 4% crit hit damage. We also got a tyrant suppressor with 7.50% crit hit chance, 2.50% stability, and 2% accuracy. We also got a small grip with 17% crit hit damage, 5% reload speed, and 4.50% optimal range. Alright everybody, that's it for our Tom Clancy's The Division vendor reset video for October 16th, 2020's vendor reset. Hope everybody who tuned into it found them something that they needed. Smash on that sub and like button, y'all. Appreciate that support. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter. I'll be on there. And check me out on Twitch. I stream on there sometimes. I appreciate that support. And I'll see y'all with the next one, everybody. Take care. Peace.